Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quentin Q. Crisco, Samir Patel, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce. Bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
We sat here on these airwaves on Tuesday and said that this would be the Eagles' funeral. And son of a bitch, we were right. The Chicago Bears claimed victory in the city of brotherly love, but there was no brotherly love for the Philadelphia Eagles as the Bears win 24-15. Ron Luce, joined by the one and only Sonny Verma and the one and only Mr. Samir Patel. Happy Victory Saturday. Feels kind of weird to say, but I'm not upset about it. But gentlemen, happy Saturday to each of you. How are you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. How can you not feel fantastic after a dominant performance, a performance that shut all the critics up? And I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, echoing what Sonny said, how can you not feel great? We fried some birds on Thursday. We fried some more birds on Friday. Gotta love it.
Indeed, gotta love it. A lot of birds in the oven over the course of the last few days. You love to see it. It is good stuff, gentlemen. A 24-15 victory over the Eagles, and I'll tell you what, Sonny, you put it best. I think a lot of box score watchers will look at this game and be like, "Wow, this game was really close." It wasn't that close. This was a dominating performance by the Chicago Bears, and you could argue this game probably should have been a larger margin of victory, right? We saw the Bears go for it a few times on fourth down and not get it. It was a pretty consistent thing over the course of the day. Now, granted, the weather played into it. You weren't kicking long field goals. We saw that Elliott field goal at the end of the game. It bent like a ball off of David Beckham's foot years and years ago. It wasn't conducive to kick, so there was a lot of go for it on situations. But Ben trusted the defense and what Dennis Allen had planned, and they stepped up and delivered big. The offense, again, as always, I'm enjoying this Bears team dominating time of possession, gentlemen. It's so much fun to watch. I was sitting here yesterday talking to my wife at the end of that first quarter, and I went, the Eagles just got the ball for a second time. It's a whole quarter.
Right.
And they had a 3-and-out in their only possession. I said, the Bears owned the football the entire first quarter. It's incredible to see, and then, of course, it translates to victories here. I mean, guys, I don't know about you. I think this was also, you each kind of alluded to it. It's finally nice for the Bears to have that victory that nobody can dispute as a soft win. Oh, look at their schedule. Oh, look at this. Hey, that Dallas Cowboys game is starting to look a lot better, too, the way they keep playing. But this was that game. I think that everybody in the national media, the Chicago media, the fan base, football in general was like, whoever comes out of this game is legit. And the Bears were the team that, after 4 quarters of roughhousing and beating the shit out of each other, come out victorious. I mean, this is a bully victory that they desperately needed. It's a culture victory, dare I say, gentlemen, after a win like this one.
It's one of those where, as Bears fans, the first, 11 games, where we, whether it's social media, whether it's other NFL analysts, fans, or whatever, talking about this week schedule, us Bears fans, like, we've just been having fun with it. It's like, what do we care? We're pulling it off. Like, the objective of the game is to win. But I think a lot of us at the same time were like, we also understood where that talk was coming from. And we're all in the process of, let's enjoy the ride. We don't know when this ride's going to end. Yeah, this team is probably overperforming, but, it doesn't matter. Let's just enjoy it. But then yesterday happened. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, obviously, it was a very dominating performance by the Chicago Bears. But it's one thing if you had a dismal effort from the Philadelphia Eagles and an A-plus performance from the Chicago Bears, which I don't think we got. We got maybe a B level performance from the Chicago Bears. They were just super well prepared. They made the right adjustments. They clearly had the right game plan, both on offense and defense. And after yesterday, there's nothing you can say about this football team going into Philadelphia. This isn't one of those fluky wins where we win it on a last-minute field goal or a Caleb drive at the last part of the game, and the crowd says, oh, yeah, well, the wind was a factor, and Philly never really got it going. No, we played in the same conditions, and we dominated from the opening kickoff till that final whistle. And again, that's what has me in a completely different mindset than I was even 24 hours ago.
Yeah, Sonny, I think you echoed a lot of good points right there. And Ron and I actually on the predictions show, we smelled upset, and you talked about you got to win in the trenches, right? And that's exactly what they did. They dominated the trenches, and that's not an easy line on both sides, right? To dominate. And I feel like not just the offensive line dominated, obviously, but the defensive line had their moments. I know it didn't necessarily show up in the stat sheets, right? Montez Sweat was supposed to be one of our baddest men. He was a little bit of a non-factor there, but it still looked like they were making Hurts uncomfortable. And Sonny, I want to go back to one of the things that you said is they had like a B game, right? They had aspects of their game that were A, but if you add everything up together, right, it's probably they weren't firing on all cylinders. And that's what gives me confidence, gentlemen, in this team is like, this is 2 weeks in a row where we have outcoached another team. And when can you say that about the Bears in history's past, right? Last year, it's if our players didn't overperform, we were probably going to lose because Eberflus isn't going to be able to out-scheme anyone. He's going to run what he's going to run, and the players need to execute it. He even said so himself numerous times. Now we have a coach where if an aspect of the game isn't working or something's working better than something else, he's going to attack it and exploit it. And these are two good, Mike Tomlin, and say what you want about Sirianni, but I think he's got like the third best winning percentage in NFL history or something like that. And it's not a small sample size at this point. So say what you want, but we have outcoached, two pretty good coaches here in the last 2 weeks. And that gives me confidence going into the season that this Bears team can adjust on the fly. They can beat you a couple different ways, and they're not going to go down, without swinging back. So I'm feeling great today.
I think that's the key, right? You look at this team and it's not about how pretty the victories are. It's just about coming through and winning football games. I think Ben Johnson said it best. You've heard him say it in a few of the post-game videos over the course of this year. Never apologize for wins in the NFL because anybody can beat anybody on any given day. That's just the nature of this league. That's the beauty of this league. I think that's why people love football is because of the parity of it any given year, where a team with Super Bowl expectations can be flattened by a team that is struggling and maybe in the heart of a rebuild. That's what makes football beautiful. A bunch of great comments here. Notorious. It's so good. He's got to say it 3 times. Scott's got Super Bowl expectations, but Notorious's fourth comment here is the one that I really wanted to build upon. He says, Caleb's dot to Cole Kmet opened my eyes about his completion percentage. The number doesn't matter if you're making winning throws like that. And I had that in my notes today, gentlemen. I have 4 little notes here that I want to share with you guys that I wrote at about midnight last night after just relishing in this Bears victory. Watching my phone and watching Ben rip his shirt off. Thank you, Wiener Circle, by the way, for the free hot dogs. Like Zendaya in the meme on her phone at night. That's how I felt last night. But I had 4 points. Ben Johnson is a maniac. I'm such a fan of it. We could get into all the crazy X and O's of the shit he does, but it's fantastic. The ground game is insane. Mm-hmm. The O-line dominated this game.
Absolutely.
They won this game. They dominated. Swift and Monangai ran with a purpose. My favorite statistic of this entire game, gentlemen, this is the first time the Chicago Bears have had 2 running backs run for over 100 yards in a single game since 1985. That year always perks my ears up when I hear it. Yeah. The last time that happened was when Walter Payton and Matt Suhey did it against the Detroit Lions. How about that? But this is the third point. Iceman. Exactly what Notorious is saying here about Caleb Williams. Box score watchers be damned. Right. When a play is needed, homeboy shows up. And I explicitly said homeboy, I promise. That's not just me making shit up. And then finally, they're for fucking real. Because that's just this Bears team. It's not about, you saw everybody on, if you were combing through Bears Twitter last night, Bears X, Bears social media, over any platform, you probably saw some of the stuff about DVOA and EPA and all that. And every Bears fan is just like, man, fuck those stats. Because yes, although those stats are helpful information, to learning more about a football team and things like that, how in the hell can you sit here and say that this team just doesn't, they have it. They have that ability to find ways to win. Adversity does not phase this football team. And to me, more than an elite quarterback, more than an elite defense, more than anything, even an elite head coach, an organization and a locker room that believes that no matter what the score is and no matter what the situation is and no matter what the hell happens on the field, that they can win a football game is the most dangerous thing in this sport. Because irrational confidence, dare I say almost hockey confidence, it is something that can just absolutely bleed into victory after victory after victory. And sometimes they're just too naive to know better. And that's really how this Bears team feels right now, right? There's so many guys on this team that have never smelled success. We see all the talk about how Jalen Johnson deserves this so much because he's lasted through so many bad Bears. And, we see, Caleb and how young this team. None of these guys were here when the Bears last played the Eagles in 2019.
Yeah. Right?
This is a young football team. Outside of a handful of guys who've smelled a little bit of success, it's unfreaking believable to see what they're doing right now on the football field, and I love it.
The mindset is it. These good, better, best videos, as much as they are for the fans, like each week it just gets better and better because you can see as the weeks pass, the players get more and more into it. Obviously it starts with the leadership. It starts with a guy like Ben Johnson, but I just want to circle back on the Caleb Williams point, box score, nothing great. 17-36, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But as you said, whenever a play needed to be made, he was there to make it. The 2 rushing first downs he got, I think one was maybe 3rd and 4th or 3rd and 5th, where he just kind of scrambled and was able to get that first down. Him able to do that multiple times against the Eagles in a lot of ways was demoralizing to me if I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Because not only are the running backs running through you, when they're trying to pass the ball, Caleb Williams comes around and he can get the yardage with his legs as well. That 4th down pass that he had to Colston Loveland, which one of their defenders slipped. Caleb is a guy right now, which you have to appreciate. He won't lose you a game, and he can make you the play to win a game. And, the way the rest of the team is playing, that's all you kind of need because he's confident. Ben Johnson's confident. That partnership, you can see the chemistry between them anytime a video is posted together. And, when you have a quarterback and a head coach in sync and an offensive line playing the way that they're playing, you can go in and beat anybody. And they showed that on Friday night.
And is there a better personification of Caleb Williams than the touchdown pass to Cole Kmet? He rolls out. He's got Swift there, right? He just faked the handoff to Swift. He's got him in the flat. That could be a first down. It's going to keep the clock running, which is kind of the goal. He's like, doesn't matter what his completion percentage is to that point. Doesn't matter how he feels like he's playing to that point, the wind, whatever. He's like, I see Cole Kmet in the end zone. I'm going to go for it, and he just makes an unbelievable throw running to his left and then throwing it as, a right-handed quarterback and puts it right on the money for Cole. Unbelievable. And then another play, Sonny, that we talk about is the freedom that he gets from Ben Johnson. I think it was a third down. I think it was towards the end of the game where it looked like it was going to be an option to hand it off to Swift or to throw that screen to Zacchaeus right off on the side to get that first down. And you can see him do the check and he throws it to Zacchaeus because he felt like he had the matchup and he got the first down. And he makes plays like that for every one of those terrible foot mechanics and underthrows it to Rome in the end zone. And you're like, oh, we got to hit that one, right? But then he comes up with stuff like this. And it seems like he plays better as the game moves along, which is, what you can ask for. I think it's that Iceman competitive juices in him that get going and he just like turns it on. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't his best game when you look at the box score. And I think he even retweeted somebody that tweeted out something about DVOA and forget all that noise, right? He hears it, he feels it, but man, he just makes plays when they need to be made.
100%. Lots of great comments here too. Just wanted to share a handful of them. Even our friends from Bulls on Tap jumping in, and really, it's our good friend Guilty had to switch the accounts there. He says, "What's good, boys? Bear down. Beautiful game last night. We've got a Kevin Byard for Depoy or we.
Oh yeah,
riot."
look at that hot take. I like that.
Hot take, but I mean, guys leading the league in interceptions. He's having a great year,
true.
and he's in year 11 in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show how this Bears defense is playing. This one from Notorious. Signed Deshaun's extension ASAP. Ben said he's deserved the game ball for the last 3 weeks, and it wasn't hyperbole. I agree, it wasn't hyperbole. Deshaun Wright has played great football. That guy, this one season of his NFL career, is going to feed his family for 3 generations.
Good for him. Yeah,
because he is balling out. And I agree. Notorious says it here. Deshaun's fumble recovery after that bad interception from Caleb was probably one of the biggest plays of the day. They scored TD, and it would have been a completely different game. I agree. That is a huge play in that moment because everybody's down. It's like, oh God, it just here we go again, right? This is the Chicago Bears. You throw a screen pass to the fucking D lineman. I got BJ Raji running through my head from 15 years ago. Like just that immediate panic as Bears fans of just this is gonna go wrong. This is gonna go bad. And then how do you defend the tush push? Go find Jalen Hurts when he's still churning his knees, punch the fucking ball out, and jump on it. And that's what the Bears did. The Eagles ran it once, and it was unsuccessful because of Deshaun Wright and just being ready in that moment. I bet you they planned for that. Hey, if they're going to just gummy up the pile and try to keep the pile moving and the whistle's not going to blow quickly, go in there and try to rip the ball out. Yeah, run around and try to rip the ball out, especially if you can find Hurts in the big pile. That's exactly what happens. And then to the Notorious's point, that happens on what? The Eagles, they're going in, so it was like the 25-yard line at that point.
Yeah, they were close to the red zone.
Bears get the possession and then orchestrate a touchdown drive.
Yeah.
When you score off the turnovers, it's one of the biggest. Again, you can't define momentum in a game, right? It's just not possible. I think Greg Olson did a great post about it yesterday about, is this the momentum shifter? Is this the momentum shifter? It's really hard to quantify sometimes. But that's the type of drive, though, that shifts the narrative of the game. You go from, oh, here come the Eagles, they're back, to, well, oh, shit. Chicago Bears just did what the Eagles were supposed to do and took it back from them. And that's kind of one of those moments, I think, where you really start to feel that kind of the juices on the Bears sideline get dialed up to 1,000, and the Eagles almost start to kind of creep back into their shell a little bit in a moment like that when you see that kind of stuff happen. Gentlemen, I do want to ask you guys as the kind of the just the way this game was going and how it was played. And I'm always so impressed by coaching game plans on short weeks, no matter what that looks like, whether it's Thursday football, whether it's Friday football, even when they start playing Saturday football. That's one less day of preparation that these coaches have to get ready for a football game. I am so impressed when like Ben Johnson can come out and they can do what they did, right? You guys put it perfectly. Maybe it was a B performance from this team in totality. Maybe they were kind of sloppy with the football at times. That we know the wind was a factor in throwing the football. I think it hurt the Eagles quite a bit. It hurt the Bears at times. There wasn't a lot of ability to take shots down the field. But when they needed the big plays, right, with Cole Kmet coming out and getting that touchdown again, and Squeegee puts it perfectly here. They come out in 13 personnel, and that's the dart. You love seeing 3 tight ends on the field. Ben Johnson does too, because he's a sicko. But you get those kind of plays. You get, I know we all focus on like Monangai and Swift each running for over 100 yards. You know what was more impressive to me, gentlemen? They both averaged over 5.5 yards a carry. Monangai had a 5.9 yards per carry. Swift had 6.9 yards per carry. But there was a point in that game, especially in the kind of the third quarter, where, it wasn't the Bears just trying to run the clock and the Eagles were committing to stopping the run. I believe both backs at one point in this game were up over like 7.5 yards per carry.
It was.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. I remember seeing that number. It was like 7.7 and like 7.9. That is bully ball domination. And again, that's what I keep coming back to with this is you come out on a short week and you just beat the living piss out of the team that just won the Super Bowl last year. And I know it's not the same roster and they, have to earn it. I think what Landon Dickerson said from Eagles camp was was spectacular because I think it's 100% true, right? Nothing's handed to you. You're not defending anything. Jordan Mailata said that. You're trying to go out and win it again. But they come out against a very good football team in their own building on top of it on a short week and just you literally sent the Philly faithful home early.
Yeah.
That's how good you played. Man, it's cool to see. And Squeegee, also another great point here. You got 9 days to get ready for the Packers. Like this one feels a little extra sweet knowing what's coming up on the schedule as well for these Chicago Bears in the next 5 games.
You know, another play that just jumps out at me just because we were talking about the tush push real quick. You know, when Jalen Hurts fumbles that ball, we get the ball back. The first play on the very next drive is a 31-yard rush by Kyle Monangai. The very first play. And at that point, that's when you kind of panned over to the Philly crowd and they're like, oh my gosh, there's just nothing we can do about this football team. We simply can't stop them. And that's, just between that and, the context of when the tush push fumble happened has to make you start believing that, last year, not even last year, the last 5 years, the Bears would have been broken at that point. The Bears would have been like, oh, dang it. Well, enjoyed the ride, but now here comes the Eagles. They're going to score again. They're going to tie the game, et cetera, et cetera. This team did not break in any sort of manner. In fact, they had a takeaway. It wasn't even a turnover. They went and grabbed the ball, and on the very first play, once they had the ball, they ran it down their throats again for another 31-yarder. Man, it's fun to talk about these guys.
It's great. And what's kind of fun is like the Eagles, like you pointed out, Ron, 0 for 1 on the tush push. Bears ran a couple QB sneaks themselves. I think they were 2 for 2, and they didn't need anybody pushing their quarterback from behind. Caleb was able to get those with ease, and they ran them quick. I think Ben did that by design. We don't see a ton of QB sneaks from Caleb, even in situations where it might call for it. I don't know. I just think Ben's a psycho and he thinks about those things. So he's probably like, yeah, we're going to run it. We're going to run it the way we run it and we're going to get it.
I do think Ben Johnson is petty and he just doesn't say it, but I think he's petty. I really do. Yeah. Like there's a level of pettiness to Ben Johnson that it's down there somewhere, right? We've seen him go into his bag of tricks. He goes out and we get the beautiful flea flicker back in week 2 against the Cowboys, only for him to run the fake flea flicker the next week. Like there's pettiness to this. Like he's diabolical. He is kind of a sicko, and that's what makes him being the head coach so much fun because we get to cover him on a week-to-week basis, but you get to watch it and appreciate it and enjoy it on a week-to-week basis. And Samir, you brought up the point, right, about the QB sneaks and the Bears being successful on them. They also didn't need a legal formation either to get it's neither here nor there. A couple fun, quick comments here. Torius says, not a huge Marvel fan, but the perfect meme for yesterday is when Hulk grabs Loki and throws him around like a rag doll. That was what the Bears did to the Eagles. That one was good. I got a little chuckle on the inside. This is when you guys were going back and forth. Scott says here, he thought Joniak and Thayer were exaggerating how many fans left until he got home and watched the replay. Yeah, it cleared out. It was awesome. I'll tell you what, just a quick story so we can get to our segments for today's show. Was at the Blackhawks game last night, myself personally. We'll save that for Fourth Others, just how I feel about that team right now. But was able to catch the end of the Chicago Bears game, watching it in transit at home a little bit at Rinaldi's over in Westwood. We went because their hot honey sopressata pizza, if you've never had it, you got to go freaking try it. The thing is unbelievable. We always we go get one before the games, and it's a lot of fun. So my wife and I are sitting there, and it's packed with Bears fans just everywhere. And as soon as they panned over to the Eagles fans leaving, 90% of the restaurant starts waving at the TVs, just screaming, bye! It was good to see you. Everybody was fired up, man. And just like the level of excitement for the Bears, because Bears sickos, no matter what and how good the team are, will always watch the Bears and be excited about the Bears and then be disappointed inevitably when they lose. Like that's just the natural progression of being a Chicago Bears fan when they are not a good team. But when you get into the city and you find the people that you can tell are like Bears fans, but not hardcore Bears fans, and they're out and they're getting rowdy about this team, good things are happening in Chicago. And I looked at my wife during this whole procession. The Cole Kmet touchdown, I thought the roof was going to blow off the restaurant. I looked at her and I said, it doesn't matter if the White Sox are good or the Cubs are good or the Bulls are good or the Blackhawks are good.
Yeah.
The city will still enjoy that. But this city lives and breathes on the blue and orange. And when the Chicago Bears are good, this city is ready to explode at any given moment. And I witnessed it yesterday. And it was really, really freaking cool because you get a big statement win. Ben Johnson's a man of the people, and Wiener Circle's delivering free hot dogs for everybody on Tuesday. The shirt comes off. He's fucking jacked, by the way. I don't know if anybody that I don't think that's gotten enough attention, but just incredible, incredible stuff from the Chicago Bears. Gentlemen, let's get to some of our segments and revisit after this game.
The baddest man.
There's a lot of great answers here that we can certainly see. Who is your baddest man from the Chicago Bears, Mr. Verma? We'll start with you.
Like you said, there's a lot of options, and I don't know, maybe this is the wrong game to do it because I think he did have a penalty, but the story of this game was that running game, and I'm really glad Ben Johnson did what he did. When he said he had 2 game balls, he gave the first one to Nahshon Wright, so then I got confused. I'm like, well, is he going to give it to Kyle? Is he going to give it to Swift? And he gave it to that entire offensive line. And I love that because I do think, that was a standout performance from Friday evening. I'm going to give props to Thuney. This guy literally wins everywhere he goes. He elevates the level of play of every single offensive line that he plays for, including this year. And I just don't I know he gets the love on the other Bears on Tap shows, but very rarely is his name mentioned when it comes to this category here, when arguably he's our best player at this point, just the way his level of performance. So I wanted to give Joe Thuney a shout out today.
Hell yeah. Samir?
I'm kind of staying there, honestly. It's Swift, Monangai, great games. I think each of them had a run over 20 yards, which kind of shows you wow, and it wasn't just open lanes. Yes, there were a ton of open lanes, but they also ran really hard and ran through some arm tackles, especially Swift, given, some of the criticism he receives on those arm tackles. He was tough. So there was a combination of open lanes, tough runs. I'm going to go with Drew Dahlman on mine. Just same logic as Sonny here. That guy has really stabilized that interior of the offensive line. How many snap problems did we have last year? And even early on this year, we had a couple snap issues, but it's nice not to have to worry about the simple things like that, right? I think he's been great for Caleb. I think he'd really just stabilize everything. And then Davis and Carter, not easy boys to handle up front, and they made it look easy. So nice job, Drew Dahlman.
I'll tell you what, I only noticed Jordan Davis once making a play in the backfield. I mean, that's when it's a fantastic game from the offensive line. Gentlemen, I love that you guys are giving the fat boys up on some love, because then I don't have to, because everybody knows how I feel as a former offensive lineman myself. I love the big boys up front. And I'll tell you what, man, just really quick on that front, Ozzie Trapillo feels like a guy that's finally ready and now starting to look like a worthy second-round pick. Mm-hmm. You could look there is a good chance that Ryan Poles can look everybody dead in the face when the season's over and say, we don't have an offensive line problem going into next year. Maybe we draft the guy late for some depth, but they can address the defense. They can address whatever the fuck they want, because what was once the biggest eyesore on this football team is now arguably their biggest strength. And it's really, really cool to see. Guys, there's so many names that we could pick here. I'm looking at the defensive side of the football. 4 of your 5 leading tacklers were defensive backs in this game. Jaquan Brisker had a great game. Kevin Byard, obviously, with the interception. Nahshon Wright with the forced fumble and subsequent recovery. CJ GJ had a good game in this one. I mean, those were 4 of your 5 top tacklers in this game. So it just kind of gives you the feel of just how those guys performed when it's all said and done. DeAndre Swift was great in his revenge game. Yes, his long was 23. Samir, Kyle Monangai's long was that 31-yarder that Sonny talked about. Those two had a great day. Caleb with ice in his veins, the O-line. I'm going to give my baddest man. Sonny, I know you've done this a few times this year, but I have a reason behind it today. Ben Johnson's my baddest man. When you can get the ball, and I was doing some math and calculations while you guys were talking. There were, I'm just going to count for everybody, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players on this offense with targets in the passing game, while having 5 different players account for rushing yards because DJ Moore and Luther Burden each had carries, and of course we know Caleb ran a bit as well. 281 total yards on the ground with 8 different guys getting looks as receivers. That is some masterful game planning from Ben Johnson. And frankly, you saw it in Detroit, right? It was a lot of times it was Amon-Ra St. Brown was the primary target, and then it kind of trickled down. Then it was Sam Laporta. Then it was maybe Jameson Williams. Then it was maybe Josh Reynolds when he was the slot guy there. Then it was maybe, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, et cetera, right? In this Bears offense where they have playmakers galore at every position, it doesn't matter. You get the ball if it makes sense. And that's just how Ben Johnson thinks about this team. Samir, you brought up the check to the screen to Zacchaeus.
Mm-hmm.
The one subtle detail of that's going to go missed, that the sicko in me in the play was like, I really like that. Like, I looked at my wife, she's like, they got the first down. Why do you give a fuck about that? Is the quick little out motion from Loveland to get out there to go block. Because you're selling that he's in line, and then right before the snap, he's on that quick little out motion to get a head start out there and able to get and make a huge block for Zacchaeus to get a first down. Like, it's just those little details that in a short week, like we talked about, in a diversified game plan, like we talked about, you had the Eagles on roller skates the entire day. Mentally, physically, even emotionally, they're getting booed after every possession in their own stadium. Samir, just like we talked about, I hope they got booed every time, and they did. I got exactly what I wanted for Thanksgiving, boys. It was awesome. But Ben Johnson is he's a bad mamma jamma, man. And it's really, really cool to see. A couple of great comments here. Comment section blowing up on this Saturday morning. According to this, we got 40 people on the YouTube with us this morning.
All right.
Squeegee says Ben Johnson said he loves explosive plays, not 1-yard punches. Of course. Kyle Monangai making the Eagles defense look silly. 100% Mike Phelps guilty here. Facts loose. Shout out to the trenches. Shout out. Bear down. He said guilty says he needs the Chicago Bulls to get in line with the sicko mindset of Ben Johnson and these Bears. And Mike Phelps says, yeah, Ben definitely out-coached Sirianni. And just like all these great people commenting along with us, make sure you head over to the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube channel, like, subscribe, hit that bell button. You'll know when we go live, and you'll know when all our other great shows go live here at the On Tap Sports Network. And then you can join the conversation, just like all these beautiful people on this Saturday morning. Gentlemen, it almost feels criminal to do this after a victory, but we got to get into it.
The nicest man.
After the pleasure that video gives me is getting to see that cute little puppy run through the grass, we have to pick a nicest man from this game. Who left you wanting more in this game from the Chicago Bears? It's going to be a hard pick. I know we're going to have to really get into some deep dives here potentially in some of these names, but Samir, switching up the order a little bit here. Who's your nicest man after this victory over the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh man, like you said, it's tough. We don't want to bring the vibes down. But I don't know if it's necessarily a man, but the passing unit, I thought as a whole was very out of sync. Now, some of that goes to Caleb, obviously. Some bad mechanics, missed throws, but honestly, wide receivers slipping quite a bit. I feel like they just weren't in the right spots, or at least they couldn't come out of their breaks very well. We saw DJ slip. We saw Luther slip. I feel like we're still, and I know this is so nitpicky, but like on the scramble drill, I feel like they're still not all on the same page. I don't know if we get a lot of receivers coming back to the ball. Even on that underthrown ball from Caleb to Rome, I'd like to see Rome take a step forward, right? Instead of like stop there and then try to dive on the ground where he is. Like come back a little bit to ensure that you get that catch. I think there's still things like that need to be cleaned up. But yeah, look, man, we're just kind of nitpicking here. I thought Kyler and JJ, their first game back, JJ got burned a little bit on that Devontae Smith pass. Was it to Smith? I think it was to Smith. But I know he's just getting his sea legs under him, so I'm not super worried about that. But that passing game was just a little bit more out of sync. But luckily, you know what? We had 2 beasts at running back, and the offensive line said, you know what? We don't really need to throw. We're good. We're fine.
Yeah. Again, this is the type of game. I know that the comments are not happy that we're talking anything negative because it's hard to after this type of game. But it's the segment.
It's the segment, guys. It's the segment. We got to do it. We got to do it.
We've got to be nitpicky. Mr. Verma, do you have a pick here for us?
I mean, you're gonna force me to make a pick, but like literally, like any
It's hard.
person I would even sort of nominate, I have a justification for, like on the opposite end, right? Like I'll just say Caleb Williams because he was 17 for 36, but of course I understand that the wind was a factor, the weather was a factor in this game. You know, some throws were kind of off, but at the same time, he made plays when plays needed to be made. So for me, it's simply I'm saying Caleb Williams because I have to pick somebody. You know, but when it comes to a whole team picture, I'm looking at the roster. I'm looking at the box score. There's nobody to me that jumps out. Like, you know, McLeod let up that touchdown to A.J. Brown, but that was just a big boy catch by A.J. Brown. Yeah. So, you know, so it's hard for me to hate on that. Obviously, the secondary, as you mentioned, had a couple slip-ups, but a lot of those guys were coming back for the very first time. Even the linebackers, for the second straight time, we're playing with a backup group of linebackers. I thought they played admirably. I have to pick someone, so I'm going to say his name, but please don't get mad at me. I'm just going to say Caleb just because of that box score.
100%. I feel the same way, and my justification is kind of in that same boat, right? Samir, I think your criticism is totally fair, though. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. I think it's 100% true. I think there are elements of, you know, I don't know why the footing was so bad, because I think historically the Eagles have had usually pretty good field conditions. I'm not typically seeing a whole lot of that. There's a lot of slipping. There was a lot of, you know, coming out of breaks. I think of the one to Luther Burden over the middle that he's kind of falling and it goes over his head. If he doesn't fall, that ball is hitting him right in the chest. I mean, that was a gorgeous throw from Caleb. And again, it goes to Sonny's point, right? Yeah, the box score says it, but again, that's the beauty of football. It's a team sport. It's not just a one individual doing anything. And that's kind of how I look at it from the sense of I'm just gonna say the defensive line. But in that vein, yeah, maybe the box score doesn't show that they had a good game, but they did. They nullified the Eagles' offensive line. They ate double teams well. They allowed these linebackers who, we're on the Bears' 5th and 6th linebackers right now. These guys were able to come out and be effective, make plays. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was kind of almost like your Sam linebacker in this game a lot of times, coming up and playing in the run game a lot. Kyler Gordon was kind of the same way. You know, we continue to see other things as well. You know, it's again, the box score warriors would be like, well, the defensive line had a terrible game. Well, no, when you're watching the game and you see how they control the line of scrimmage, that's not the case. So yes, would it have been nice maybe to see Montez Sweat, who Samir we picked as one of our baddest men, maybe have a sack, maybe a little more impact there? Sure. But at the end of the day, when you look at the team dynamic, because of the front four's ability to, I'll say at least somewhat control the line of scrimmage against this Eagles offensive line, it allowed Dennis Allen to do a lot of the crazy shit he likes to do. Look at that last drive. How many times did they show 7 on the line of scrimmage? Almost like 4 consecutive plays. And then they're able to bail out and do all the different kind of coverages that they like to do, right? Dare I say, like, I know a lot of people always focus on Brian Flores. Dennis Allen's like kind of the poor man's version when some of the sick shit that he does too on defense. And you're able to do that because that front four controls it. So I'm going to go with the front four because the box score isn't pretty. But those guys did their job in this game against, again, probably one of the best offensive lines they're going to play against all season too.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Montez. If I thought about it a little more, I probably would have picked him as well, just because Fred Johnson is opposite him, right? And you think like this dude's like, what is it, 54 PFF grade, 67 out of 80 for his position. It's like Sweat's on a roll too. It's like, yeah, he's gonna at least get a hurry or at least hit an arm, you know, to deflect a pass. If not, get him to the ground. We didn't really hear his name much at all, but like you said, pretty nitpicky.
Definitely. And again, I'm going to tell Q about this one because I don't think he's going to believe us. Like this was the hardest, nicest man segment I think we've ever had for the Bears. And that's awesome. That is growth in itself of this football team. But I think we need to revisit why the Bears won this football game and see how effective they were with some keys to victory.
Keys to victory.
Keys to victory. Gentlemen, we sat on these airwaves, or at least Samir and I did, with Mr. Brendan Shagru on Tuesday, and we figured out how the Bears needed to win. Usually we do 3 keys. This week we had 5 keys, so we'll revisit all 5 of those and judge how the Bears did in this one. The first one was from you, Samir, on defense. Stay out of 3rd and 4th and short. Don't give them abilities to run the tush-push because once they get out of those situations, they're 27th on 3rd down when eliminating, and the Bears are good on 3rd. And Samir, I think you kind of nailed it on this one. 0 for 1 on the tush push, as we talked about. Nashawn Wright making an incredible play, and the only time they had a chance to run it, the Bears forced them in a lot of 3rd and longs, and I think that's what really helped the Bears control this game on the defensive side of the football.
Yep. I think there were 4 of 12 on 3rd down, including, like you said, the failed tush push. So, yeah, that certainly worked in the Bears' favor. And, man, you can feel it after every 3rd down punt. That home stadium just ratcheted up that pressure just a little bit more, and they got a little tight. So, yeah, 3rd down victories were huge.
Only 14 first downs for the Eagles the entire game. The Bears had 28. You doubled up on their, first downs, and that just talks about, them not being able to extend those drives. And then what that turned into was the Bears having the ball for 40 minutes in that game, and the Eagles only having it for a little over 20.
It's great.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't
the math is mathing.
The time of possession game right now is something that I probably my favorite part of this Ben Johnson offense is just how much they control the game clock and are able to take care of business. A couple of comments here. James Hollett saying, team's still learning, getting better every week. So certain setbacks are understandable. Absolutely. The best yet to come for sure. Cat Fine stuff. This one's fun. The look of people who are generally surprised your team's position is going to the last third of the regular season. He goes, I get it. He's a Seahawks fan. They're having a great season too. So
absolutely,
it's just fun. It's fun when you've got good football. And Hollett chimed in about Dexter and his growth when we were talking about that front 4. And yeah, Will Ray, you're right. The wind was whipping like crazy. Speaking of that wind, another key to victory here, Samir, was on offense. You said to take shots. So Philly was 11th in giving up explosive plays. The Bears are first in explosive plays. You said don't worry about completion percentage. Test their secondary. They did it once. It resulted in a touchdown, and a lot of those big plays happened, but they just came on the ground rather than through the air.
Yeah. I thought they had a good chance to really exploit some over-aggressiveness by Fangio. He likes to confuse young quarterbacks. He'll probably be a little bit aggressive and take those shots when they're there because, like we said, Philly gives up the 11th most explosive plays. Now, like you said, they didn't come via the air. They came on the ground, and that's okay. They had a couple big runs, but for the most part, I think weather was kind of a big part of it. I think Ben did want to get aggressive a little earlier. We had a couple shots early, and then once he kind of reassessed his own game plan, which I love that he does, he's like, nope, this is what we're going to do. And so, he got the yards in a different manner.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't happen with Caleb's arm, but it happened, and it didn't happen because of lack of trying. It didn't happen because it didn't need to happen. The situation didn't call for it in regards to what the weather was displaying out there. I'm glad they didn't try to force anything. And maybe they got a little too cute on that 3rd down that got intercepted. But outside that, Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift were the guys who made those explosive plays. And even that's okay.
Indeed, that's always okay. And I will note to your guys' point here, right? About, everybody's talked to, even in our comments, coach of the year type stuff for Ben Johnson here. He wanted the ball with the wind in the 4th quarter. There's a reason the Bears did what they did. It's always a chess match from the coin toss, because in those games when the elements play in a factor, I've witnessed it firsthand with coaches I've played for. That's a real consideration. And it's, hey, if we win the toss, we're going to take the ball because then we know we get to choose, which way we're kicking, and we're going to have the wind at our back in the 4th quarter, and the Eagles are going to have to throw into the wind. And that made a huge, huge difference in this football game because it limits what you can do on offense. So, again, just talking about the weather, I think, we've harped on that quite a bit. 2 of these also came from Mr. Shagru. So, Sonny, I'll just turn these over to you first to give your thoughts on them. And then, Samir, please chime in as you see fit as well. But this one was get off to a fast start. the Bears are lauded for scripting plays that led to points. We hadn't seen that as much lately. Score on the opening drive, take the crowd out of it. Check, and double check, it feels like, on that front.
And not just that, you just didn't let Philly have the ball. I think they only had the ball for like 3 minutes in that entire first quarter. So absolutely, they completely nailed it on that front. You kind of deflated the Philly, crazy raucous stadium almost immediately just by putting your foot down and showing exactly what was going to happen all game long.
Yeah, totally agree. They had a promising drive, questionable challenge that was overturned without any real video evidence, but that didn't really stop them. I think they forced a 3 and out, got the ball back, and then was able to score. So it was, like Sonny said, it felt like the Eagles, you went to go take a bathroom break, and you're like, well, the Bears have the ball again. And it's like you basically just saw Caleb Williams in the offense on the field for like the first 45 minutes of the game. So
yeah, I just checked. 2 minutes and 37 seconds is how much time the Eagles had the ball in that first quarter.
It's usually a recipe for success. I agree. I think Brendan nailed that one on Tuesday, and they executed. The Bears were perfect. That first drive was really nice, and then of course being able to get a quick 3 and out and come back and get some points out of it was also critical as well. His second point here was Bears can come from behind and make second half adjustments. That's where they win, and it will need to happen. He said the Eagles haven't been a great second half team. Look at the Cowboys game the week prior. It happened a number of times throughout the season. I think the Bears were great in the second half, and I think they recommitted right to that run game. Samir, I think you put it perfectly, right? They assess the game plan and recommit. This one was, I think, spot on too. I think Mr. Shagru goes 2 for 2 on his keys to victory.
Yeah, I mean, nothing, like, we weren't behind. That's a good thing about this game. It was simply one of those where, if anything, adjustment-wise, maybe Caleb threw the ball a little bit too much early in the game, and then Ben's just like, wait a minute. Every time I hand this ball off to one of these running backs, they get 7 yards plus per carry. And so, especially in that second half, when you really saw it become very rush-heavy, the adjustments were made, and it's just nice to know you have a coaching staff that can make them.
Yeah, that second half is huge, right? For both teams. The Bears, I think we tweeted this out yesterday. They're 8th in second half scoring at almost 13 points per game. And the Eagles are 27th in second half scoring at like just under 9 points per game. And so yesterday the Bears had 14 and the Eagles had 12. So, the Bears were able to outscore the Eagles in the second half in a game where they largely controlled the first half as well. So I think Mr. Shagru nailed it. Is like this team is very good at figuring out what's working and what's not working, and which parts of the game plan to amplify and which parts of the game plan to alter. And that's what we love about Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what sounds like coaching competency to me. Ben Johnson's middle name, according to James Hollett here, is Kenobi. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope. And he was the Bears' only hope, and he has been so far. Christian Kopeck here also says once this defense gets healthy, it's over. I think that's a great point as well, of just how this team can continue to elevate over the course of the season. Gentlemen, my key to victory was quite simple. Win in the trenches. The Eagles have always been known for great offensive lines and great defensive lines. Howie Roseman's done a remarkable job of keeping those two units strong for well over a decade now, right? We look back to, the Jason Peters and Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson days, which has now evolved to Mailata and Dickerson and Juergens, and still you got the Lane Johnson. Hold on, obviously he didn't play in this game, but those groups. And then, of course, we know about that Eagles defensive line and how good that unit is. The Bears dominated the line of scrimmage, boys, flat out on both sides of the ball. I think the Eagles, despite being able to do some things offensively at times, the Bears defensive line made sure that they weren't getting the big chunk plays. You weren't getting the home run plays. Hurts was uncomfortable regularly, and that because of the front four able to free up free rushers coming off the edge, things that we know that Dennis Allen likes to do, bring his DBs, bring his linebackers on blitzes. And then, of course, on the offensive side, that was the one I hyper fixated on, was the Bears O-line versus the Eagles D-line. And the Bears came out, they slid the pants down a little bit, and they put their fucking nuts on the table and said, we are the better unit. We are going to bully you from the first snap to the last snap. And that's exactly what they did. It was just bully ball. That's how I would express this from the offensive line for the Bears. Bully ball. They beat the living piss out of the Eagles defensive line the entire game, and it results in 281 yards on the ground. That's a winning recipe time and time and time again. And I'll tell you right now, if you're at home and you say, you know what, maybe I don't fully understand offensive line play. First off, shameless plug, come tune in with Q and I next week when we talk about this one. But secondly, this game shows you why having a good offensive line is so important, because it's shit like this that you can do. And when you can just physically dominate teams, more often than not, you are going to win the football game when it's all said and done. Our good friend Guilty here says, the coolest part about this too is that it makes players want to come play for this team even more. This is just the beginning. Wild to think about more reinforcements are coming. And he calls them the Bully Ball Bears. I like that. The Bully Ball Bears is a fun nickname indeed. But guys, it's true, right? Not to get ahead of ourselves, because I think we're all still enjoying this roller coaster ride that is the 2025 regular season. But it is going to change the outset of this organization. There are going to be players that want to come here in free agency. There are going to be players that want to be drafted here in the draft process. Like, not that the Bears weren't already a kind of a premier destination as one of the original teams in the NFL, but it's amplified now when you've got this team hitting on all cylinders the way they are. Gentlemen, we've hit on all of our segments. We're approaching the hour mark here. This has been a fun game to talk about, man, but I want to turn it over to each of you. Samir, we'll let you go ahead and rip here first. Final thoughts of a Black Friday victory for the Chicago Bears.
What I love most about this game is this game plan travels. This game plan works. It doesn't matter, the weather, the opponent. If you can run the ball and dominate the line of scrimmage like that, you have a chance to be in every game. This is going to work on the road. This is going to work at home. This is going to work in terrible weather conditions. It's going to work on turf. This translates. And if you can be really good at this, if you can be really good at dominating time of possessions, winning the turnover battle, it's going to be really hard to beat a team like this. And one of the keys we talked about is this game might be a detriment for Philly playing at home. People are like, oh yeah, they're going to come at home. It's going to be great. I don't know. They might have had a better chance at Soldier Field, because that crowd just turns on them so quickly. And it feeds the Bears sidelines too, to be like, they ain't booing us. They're booing the other guys, and it was just wonderful to watch. Had a great time doing it. Watched it with my boys. They were like, I thought the Eagles were good. And I'm like, no, well, the Bears are good too. So let's enjoy it.
Well said, Sonny.
Yeah, it's just nice. You went up against Vic Fangio, arguably the best defensive coordinator in the business, but you have Ben Johnson on your side, and your side just clearly game planned for that game a lot better. And I actually wanted to jump on what Guilty said, that comment that you highlighted earlier. Right now, what I saw after the good, better, best yesterday was there's a lot of opposing fan bases. Even the Eagles guys are saying, like, man, it's kind of cool I wish my coach would be this emotional, have this sort of aura. I think that's the word that the kids use nowadays. The Bears rebuilding plan, we basically jumped ahead a year. We're almost at the place where maybe this is where I expected us to be a year from now. But sitting here, 9-3, this team itself legitimized itself on Black Friday as a legit contender in the NFC. And now we've got the guy in charge. We know there's no game that we're going to go in for the rest of the schedule and thinking, being insecure about it. Like, we'll probably lose that one. All that talk at the beginning of the year and throughout the first half of the season saying, yeah, the first half is really easy, but that second half is very intimidating and very daunting. We're 7.5-point dogs coming into Philadelphia. If you can go into that environment and beat that team, there's nobody on the schedule that you can't beat. And, just the way this season came out of nowhere, just sit back and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Just sit back and enjoy it. Lots of Let's Go Bears love in the comment section. Gentlemen, I'll tell you what. I'm glad you guys took the approach you took. Very grateful, very appreciative, very excited about this Bears team. And I share in all those sentiments. But I'm going to dip back in my toes into the water where I was on Tuesday. We called for a funeral for the Philadelphia Eagles. Brendan even said after we got off that, we didn't even mention the Eagles were wearing all black for their own funeral. I'm glad they dressed for the occasion. I'm glad they showed up and said, you know what? Today's the day. Today's the day that our team finally crumbles at the hands of a truly good football team that has the foundational pieces that are in the right places. They've got a great coach. They've got a talented quarterback, a beautiful offensive line, playmakers galore, a defense that is balling out and just playing to the best of their ability and doing what they are coached and asked to do. And the Eagles have yet to see that this season. They hadn't. They hadn't seen it. They were riding on the high of a Super Bowl victory from a year ago, a fan base that thinks they're entitled to everything when it comes to sport because they're the Philadelphia fan base. Well, you know what I say to those guys? I say, fuck them. Because the Eagles timed it perfectly for their own funeral. They said, we should wear black on Black Friday because that would be cute. Dare I say, they realized in advance that, you know what, we should properly dress for the occasion. So when the Chicago Bears team steps into our own stadium and puts us in the ground, we are properly dressed to mourn what could be another championship season. The Eagles aren't totally out of it yet, but the Bears exposed a lot of flaws for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. And sometimes that's just as much of a death over the course of the rest of the season when coaches get into the film as it is a victory for the Chicago Bears. And I'll tell you what, man, not only was it a funeral for the Eagles, but it was kind of a massacre on the end of the Chicago Bears. The Bears are back. Everybody talked about the Bears being cute. We have our puppy video for Nicest Man. Everybody was thinking the Chicago Bears were just a cute little bear cub running around playing with his friends. No, no, no. These Bears are nasty. They're going to fight you. They're going to beat you up. And at the end of the day, they're going to kill you. And that's what they did to these Philadelphia Eagles. So not only did the bird roast in the oven on Thursday, but son of a bitch, those birds roasted in the oven on Friday too, at the hands of the deadly claws that are the Chicago Bears. Man, this was a fun game. This was a fun game to talk about with the two of you gentlemen. We encourage everybody, we're not going anywhere. We'll get a couple extra days off out of this one too. Enjoy your football Sunday with not having there's no stress. You're just watching to watch. And we'll be back next week as we look forward to those fucking cheeseheads up north and the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be fun. 2 times in the next 5 weeks, the Bears will see them. And the fight for the division starts right now. Gentlemen, from us to everybody in our comments, first off, shout out on this Saturday morning to everybody tuning in with us. You guys were absolutely incredible. We appreciate all of you. We hope you guys like, subscribe, hit that bell button. You'll know when we go live, and we will see everybody next week. Gentlemen, what do we say? Get out of here, as we always do, with a good old bear down.
Bear down, boys.
Bear down, baby. Let's keep it going.